Joe's partnered with Movember to urge guys to pick a mate and have a proper chat. To provide some inspiration, we've sent some local sports stars off rooking to lighten their load.
We're here today with Movember to get out for a bit of a walk, have a bit of a chat, and just try and encourage men to have a few more honest conversations.
Right, Cormac, don't give me the age-old Irish response to this of, are you okay?
I just want to tell you I'm grand, and like for the most part I am, but I think like I'm probably in a bit of a phase now where like in general life is in a relatively good place.
Yeah.
Thankfully. I'm lucky enough to be able to say that. To be honest, I still struggle with the mundane. Not like the ordinary day-to-day.
Yeah.
The Monday morning.
Am I really okay?
I have to get up for work. I have to do that later. Oh, I told them I'd help out down the club. I need to do that. I kind of struggle a little bit with that.
Yeah.
I kind of struggle with the whole, I'm not necessarily pushing boundaries here. I'm not necessarily achieving. Am I okay with just kind of the ordinary? And I think it's hard when you see people your own age. I know for me personally, watching the likes of ye and other lads I played with push on to senior county level, you always have that little kind of voice in your head being like, should I be doing more?
I'm exactly like that in terms of everything you've achieved, like as in an awful lot more than any other person would achieve in their sporting career. Yet then you're comparing yourself to, say, the likes of me or the other boys who may have been in and made that step up to senior and to county level. But then on the other side of that, I'm then looking further along for me, saying I haven't played enough, I haven't featured enough. And it's always that one step further, you're always looking ahead as opposed to sitting back. And of course you don't want to be too content with where you're at. Of course, as in like our sporting bodies always want us to achieve more and be more and all that sort of stuff. But sometimes actually sitting back and being content with that. And I'm completely fine with that in terms of I've achieved so much. I've obviously wanted to achieve an awful lot more, which I haven't. But look, when you look back and reflect, I'm very, very proud of where I've come from, not only in my sporting life, but just in my general life. You know, I've had more battles outside of sport than inside sport, and I'm sure we can obviously relate to that.
I think this one is one that most lads can actually relate to more than they realise. I still find it really weird, right? So you look at me, I'm like 29, 90 kilos, GAA player, cyclist, whatever. And then someone looks at you and they think of like, played hurling, did all these things. And then you're like, right, I have an eating disorder as well. That doesn't really add up. And I still to this day get the kind of the looks, and it's a bit like, if someone meets me for the first time and then they find out a bit more about me, the thing that always catches them off guard is like the eating disorder thing. Like it's not really something that you expect to hear from someone like us.
Are they afraid to delve into the conversation?
Yeah, everyone's terrified.
Yeah.
Right, there's a couple of things we all do, right? So we all breathe, we all eat, and we all drink.
Yeah.
And they're real natural things that you don't think about. And then like, all of a sudden you start developing a problem with food. And like, something as natural as eating and hunger cues go out the window.
Yeah.
Like it's a pretty messed up thing. Like I don't expect anyone to be able to understand it.
Yeah.
And maybe not everyone understands an eating disorder, but I think particularly in a GAA world, in a sporting world amongst young men, I think body image, whether lads will admit it or not, is something we can relate to. I think most lads look in the mirror probably every day and there'll be a voice in their head somewhere saying, I don't like that. Like, are you telling me at no point in your Dublin career, there's no time where you were looking at yourself and not being like, jeez, I probably need to get a bit leaner here, X, Y, or Z is in that shape. Like when you're in a dressing room full of 30 fit athletic lads, I don't care who you are, it's very hard not to be aware of what's around you.
Even away from like the inter-county scene, I think just in general, kind of speaking, like as in you're well used to this going around to schools and everything like this. The one thing that has changed, I think, over the last, say, 10 years in particular, and the thing that's taken off is social media. Everyone scrolls on social media and stuff like that, and you see people in Marbella and all this sort of stuff, and Dubai and everything, and life is great, and six-pack shredded.
Perfectly posed picture.
Yeah,
been taken 5 times, like right angle.
Blue lips, like as in like take a breath. Like, do you know what I mean? As in like, I just think it's mad to think we're so engrossed in this one snapshot kind of thing of, as a holistic point of view of this great life that people are living, but then also trying to manifest, this is how I live my day-to-day life, this is how I eat, this is how, but like, whereas like people are probably miserable for 8 weeks trying to shred down to 5% body fat percentage just for one picture on the beach in Dubai. Okay, next topic, struggles.
Well, like when I think back now to when I was a kid, I was always like a pretty deep thinker, and I suppose in hindsight now, I often think maybe it wasn't a surprise that I probably over-examined things so much and that my mood dropped in ways that I never imagined that I encountered such things. But like were you always quite deep, or did it just all of a sudden you got to 18, 19, transitioning through life, school to college, like where did it come from?
I suppose like I would have, and I always have been a deep thinker. I think in all aspects of life, not only sport but just in general life, I always have been. And I think I was deep thinking about what was internally going on in my body. What I thought was at the start was hormonal changes going on. Middle of fifth year, playing with Dublin, everything going great, loving family, loving friends, everything going great in my life from the outside looking in. And then internally, this dark cloud was beginning to engulf my mind.
But you didn't know what it was?
I hadn't a clue.
You thought you were just being a moody teenager?
I just thought I was being a moody teenager.
Just like you still are on a pitch.
Particularly for me, it was more and more difficult because the outside looking in, my life was going up our curve. Representing minors, up to the seniors, still in school. We spoke about the
Putting all out of medal while you're in school, like.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? As in, like, it was such a strange one where I found it more and more difficult as my life transitioned because everything was getting better and better and better, yet my mood was on the.
So there was no trigger, like there wasn't like life event, depressive episode.
No, certainly not. It was, and that was a struggle within it itself because I was trying to figure out, would it have been easier if it would have been, as you say, a life event? I can pinpoint to why exactly that was in that point in time, to why I'm feeling how I am now. But there was no rhyme or reason.
Do you know what? You're going to have to lean into people.
Yeah.
You're going to have to lean into your mates. You're going to have to lean into the lads in the dressing room, your family or whatever.
Yeah.
And even, do you know what as well? That I really learned, be selfish sometimes. Sometimes I just need to be selfish and say, do you know what? I can't do that for you today. I'm going to take myself off for a coffee. I'm going to do a bit of journaling.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a walk and listen to a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be enough sometimes. Did you imagine a few years back when things were in where life would be now? Could you have imagined this?
No.
Would you have taken this?
Would I have taken it 100%? Would I have thought back during the struggles, 16, 17, 18-year-old self, would I get to this point in my life? No, as in like, we've touched upon probably today about being very content to an extent with where we are at the minute, but like to think that was an option or a viable option certainly like 10 years ago to now.
You didn't think it would? Genuinely you didn't?
No chance, as in like I didn't see past the next day. I was literally living day to day. I don't want to be too cliche in terms of as in like I wake up every day grateful, but genuinely as in like when you get to the lowest point where you only think the only way out for you is to die by suicide is then turn into absolutely I appreciate every single day, and I genuinely do appreciate the people around me. I appreciate the people who have helped me to get to this point and still help me to get to a good point in my life every single day. Like, I don't want to take words out of your mouth, but I think we'd be both agreeing in the fact that sport gives you an awful lot, but it is not the only thing going on in your life. You know, things that happen in our early days as teenagers to potentially think, would things turn out to be probably at grand designs of both of us playing inter-county football, hurling, and everything is rosy.
One of us more successful than the other.
We're both washed up now, so.
Just because things always don't work out as you planned.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't plan to go into Pats for 11 weeks. No. I didn't plan to go into Lowest Bridges for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Neither of us planned to have ups and downs in our sporting careers, and yet ultimately we still came out pretty well to the other side, where we're now in a position where we can try and give something back to it, and where life is different than what we ever imagined. But it's different in a good way. Just because it's different doesn't mean it's bad. And I think, like, I don't know, I think we probably both were so consumed with Dublin once upon a time. I know I was.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Like, it was all, Dublin was it.
Yeah.
I think the fact that life now is very different isn't necessarily a bad thing.